Well, I can tell you what I want to do on whatever the next game is innovate. That's what we did last time on Black Ops. Well, the first Black Ops, actually, we innovated. We gave the player a voice for the first time, and we made the player the main character of the story. Black Ops 2, we have innovated with story branching and Strike Force and a compelling villain in the campaign. What we do next time, it's going to be something different again. Is it going to be a branching story? I don't know. But what I can tell you is, it will be an experience that players won't have experienced before in Call of Duty. That is always my number one goal from the start of the project. Because these fans have been dedicated to this game for a long time. And I don't want them to pick up the game and be disappointed. And when they pick up Black Ops 2, I think they're in good shape.
My father, Alex Mason, gave up everything he had.
We sat down at the start of the project and we said to ourselves, we want to rewrite the rules of storytelling in Call of Duty. All bets are off. All the rules that we normally stick to and conventions that we know, throw them all out of the window. And that's what we did. So we came up with the idea of doing branching story. Now, what does that mean? What it actually means is, as you're playing through the game, there are many things that can happen in the game that will happen differently depending on how you play it. Like, there are main characters, key characters in the story who will live or die depending on what you're doing. And this isn't just at the end, this is as you're playing through the game. And one of the most interesting things to me is, because now I've actually, over the last couple of weeks, I've seen a lot of people actually play the finished game now. And I've seen their reaction at the end. And what they do is they get to the end and they'll talk to the person who's played it with them at the same time. And they'll be like, what did you think when this happened at the end? And the person looking at them will be like, hang on a minute, that guy's dead. And it's a guy who may have died in the story fairly early on. And the guy's like, no, this guy was in this scene, he was in this scene, he was doing this, he was doing this, and the guy's looking at him like he's nuts. And I'm seeing this reaction all over the place, and it's really gratifying to see that, because that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted, when David and I started talking about it, for the player to get to the end of the game and genuinely want to replay it. And that's the reaction I've seen so far, and I just hope that the fans, when they get their hands on the game, have the same reaction as that. Villain in the story, I have to tell you, is one of the things I'm most excited about in the entire project. Because the villain is a very different villain that you've ever seen before in Call of Duty, and I really mean that. This guy is a human being. It's like, you'll actually get to like him. You'll, almost in a weird way, get to admire him. And because you actually can empathize with him on a human level, when he starts doing a lot of crazy stuff, you're going to be in a real conflict because you like him. I mean, you first see him when he's 10 years old. And because of that, you're invested in him. And when you see him doing these things, it's like, you really think, wow, what would I do in that situation? Probably not that extreme, but I'd be pretty upset and I might do something bad. So that's what we want players to experience when they're going through the journey of Raul Menendez in this game. I think the expectation for Black Ops 2 may be that we would not do the level of innovation that we had. Like, if I'd have asked somebody before we actually started announcing what we're doing, that we would be doing a branching story with multiple endings where characters can live or die depending on what you're doing, where there's a war going on between America and China that can be won or lost depending on what you're doing, where we have a villain in the game who has his own agenda that can be won or lost depending on what you're doing. What do you think people would have said?
Let's go!
Esta es su única advertencia.